Great. Fantastic. So again, thank you all for joining us today for our first Better FAFSA and CASFA Lunch and Learn. Here today with us, we have Martha Herrera. She is our FAFSA coordinator. We have Sophie Vogel. She is our CASFA coordinator. And we have Phyllis Gabriel-Michael and Shannon Walsh, who are foster care student navigators. Hi. And just wanted to also introduce our executive director, Dr. Angie Piccioni. And Angie, if you would like to say a few words to our group today.
Sure, I would love to. Thank you for the invitation. I won't be here for the entire webinar, but I did want to just welcome everyone and thank you for taking some time to work with us on that Better FAFSA and CASFA. I don't usually go before a group without telling the story, and the story really is around how important it is, the work that we do, how important that is, and especially around activating potential. The scientific definition of potential is stored energy. And if you've seen Bill Nye, the Science Guy, or any of those folks where they have a beaker of some kind of a liquid, and then they pour another liquid into it, and it just kind of explodes all over the place into foam or whatever, what's in that first beaker, that liquid that's in there, is stored energy. And it takes an agent, it takes some other kind of catalyst to act on that stored energy for it to become activated. And it's the same thing with us. The human definition of potential, human potential, is stored greatness. And every student we work with has stored greatness. And it's up to us to activate that potential, that stored greatness, so that they can become all that they were meant to be. I tell the story about how when I was a professional women's basketball player, I used to go into prisons and chat with the inmates, and it was sort of a prison ministry, and they would always send two athletes in together. And I went in, I remember one time in Columbus, Ohio, I went in with a professional baseball player. He was a catcher, and he would tell the story about how he and his dad would play catch in the backyard. And his dad would say to him, "You're going to be a major league catcher one day. You're going to be a major league catcher one day." And he grew up and became a major league catcher. And he would tell the story about how his dad's words would stick in his head, in his ear. And every time he came face to face with a hardship or a setback, maybe he had an injury or a practice was really hard and he thought about giving up, he would hear his dad's words saying, "You're going to be a major league catcher one day." And that was enough to propel him past those setbacks, past those hardships, past those tough coaches or tough practices that I remember well as a professional athlete. And he would talk about that as the power of the spoken word, the power of the spoken word to overcome those things and to then be a catalyst to activate his potential. As we were leaving a prison one day, an inmate came up to us and said, "Hey, my dad always said I'd end up in prison." And when you think about the power of the spoken word as a catalyst to activate potential, it can either activate like it did for that baseball player or deactivate potential like it did for that inmate. Imagine that inmate and his dad saying things like, "Hey, you keep being a knucklehead, you'll end up in prison. You keep hanging out with those kids, you'll end up in prison. You keep ditching school, you'll end up in prison." And that then became essentially a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we, as adults who work with kids all the time, we can either use our power of the spoken word to activate their potential or to deactivate their potential. In this case, what we're talking about, FAFSA and CASFA, becomes another power, if you will, a power to activate their potential by eliminating the obstacle of the cost involved in pursuing post-secondary education. So part of the reason why we encourage you to make sure that all students complete these applications is so that we can be agents of activating their potential. They may not know how much they might qualify for, and just even a little bit certainly can help. And so I encourage you, I congratulate you, I thank you for the effort that you are taking to make sure that students complete the FAFSA and or the CASFA, depending on their situation, so that they can get the resources that they might need in order to pursue a post-secondary certificate or an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, whatever they want to pursue, that they will have the means to do that. So, so thank you for your efforts. Be catalysts, be activators of student potential. through many different ways. One, the most important one probably is the power of the spoken word. What you say to them, they will take in, and they will take it in differently than they take in their own parents' words. And so be an activator, activate the potential in all those students around you. And we want to be your partners in doing that. So that's why we want to help you with this webinar, but also any other way that you need our assistance at the Department of Higher Education. We are here to support you. So welcome to the webinar. That's all I really wanted to say, Twyla, and and to the team, to the department's team, we thank you for your efforts as well in all areas to help the counselors. And I saw somebody's here also from CSU. I taught there for 10 years. I see a lot of places where I spend a lot of time. I saw a Battle Mountain High School person is there. I actually spent a lot of time at your high school. That I knew your coaches and stuff. And so there's a lot of places here that I've been. So thank you once again. And Twyla, am I turning it over to Commissioner Walmer?
Yes, please do.
Okay,
Yes.
so also joining the call is Commissioner Jen Walmer, as she's on our Colorado Commission on Higher Education. We work hand in hand with the commission to really help to provide resources and support for the high schools, the colleges in Colorado. So I'll stop there, and please, even put a little note on your computer that just says the power of the spoken word. And remember that the words you say really has a great impact on the students that you work with. Commissioner Walmer, take it away.
Thank you all for letting me be here with you today. Just really excited to learn about the Better FAFSA and CASFA. Want to first recognize the incredibly important work you do with Colorado students every single day. And like Dr. Piccioni talked about, unlocking that potential and opportunity for post-secondary success. So I'm mainly here to learn along with you. I have, in my day job, spent a lot of time pushing for additional resources to support incredible people like you in schools doing this work. And I just want to also hear how this new form is going to be better for our students, and want to support any of the work that you are doing to give students that post-secondary access. So thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Dr. Piccioni, and Commissioner Walmer. I am going to actually introduce myself. I forgot to do that. My name is Twyla. I'm the Director of Outreach at the Department of Higher Ed. So thank you all again for joining us today. So why are we here? We are here to learn about the Better FAFSA and CASFA and to increase statewide completion rates. So we are, I'm going to show my screen really quick. Where is it? Oh, it's the big green thing there. So I just wanted to let's make sure that's the right screen there. Okay, so I'm just going to show a few things on here. So do you see the 24-25 FAFSA CASFA? Is it on there? Okay, great. So I'm just going to show you some FAFSA resources that we have up here on our website. So if you go to the Department of Higher Ed, CDHE.colorado.gov, and you can easily just do a search. You can do FAFSA and or CASFA, and what will come up is the post-secondary education programs and services. And under here, you will find a tab, if you will, that has information that we have posted here regarding the Better FAFSA and CASFA, and what you can do now to help students and families and you as professionals, what you can do now to get prepared for the Better FAFSA, as well as some resources that we have posted here for, we have specific ones for students and families, and then we also have with different content. And then we have for professionals, we put up just yesterday, the Federal Student Aid Financial Aid Toolkit for counselors, as well as the Better FAFSA preview presentation. We have this really neat CASFA or FAFSA Wayfinder document. So please, and if you could put that in the chat, Martha or Sophie, or at the end, we are going to be providing a sheet that has all the resources that we talk about today. We will be sure to share that with you all, as well as this recording when we're done. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one more thing. We, under outreach, we also have foster care financial aid programs. So in here, we, the department handles, education and training voucher, and we also handle, foster ed, which, foster ed pay is a program that pays for the total cost of attendance for qualifying students who are attending any sort of, public institution of higher ed. And there's some qualification criteria, but if the student was in foster care or in non-certified kinship care in Colorado on or after their 13th birthday, they are eligible. So please check those resources out to see if your students are eligible for these programs. And I will go ahead and stop sharing, and I will, I lost my notes here. There we go. I am going to go ahead and pass it over to Sophie. She is going to give us some information regarding the CASFA. So Sophie, go ahead and take it over.
Thank you so much, Twyla. Really appreciate it. Also, really quick in the chat, I'm going to share our agenda for the meeting just so everyone has a pretty good grasp of what we're planning to talk about today. I'm also going to share my screen because I'm going to walk through some hopefully really fun and helpful CASFA related information. So as I'm sharing my screen now, you all should be able to see my Google, and I'm just going to show you how I often get to the CASFA website. I just Google CDHE CASFA or just CASFA, and I can get there appropriately. So this is the CASFA website, and I wanted to make sure that I review the document that Twyla asked me to share in the chat. It can be found under Student and Family Resources in this menu here, and it's called FAFSA or CASFA, excuse me, it's called CASFA or FAFSA. And so this is, we call it a wayfinder, and it is one of our best tools to help students and families determine eligibility. So for fun, I'll just review. CASFA is an acronym that stands for the Colorado Application for State Financial Aid. CASFA is basically known as a financial aid application for students who are undocumented in Colorado. So you're welcome to use this to share this with your families, your students, this resource. In addition, here is information about who is eligible for CASFA. And if you are not eligible for CASFA, it is probably because you are eligible for FAFSA. FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid, which we're all talking about because of the Better FAFSA. And FAFSA is obviously for U.S. citizens. So thank you for reviewing this with me. And, you know, obviously feel free to let me know if you aren't able to locate this document. We have it a few places on the website, but we want you to have access. So I'm going to go back again, and I'm actually, I'm going to show you the beginning of the CASFA application. So here is some information in English, and then right below is some information in Spanish. I want to highlight what we also have at the top of the CDHE website, that CASFA, the CASFA launch for the 24-25 aid year is mirroring the FAFSA launch. So it is launching December 2023, which is not, you know, next month, but the following month. So that information is also here in English and below in Spanish. So December 2023, CAFSA will launch. So please make sure to tell your students and families CASFA will be in December. So when you want to apply, you click here to apply, and it takes you to this sign in. If your student or student has not completed a CASFA prior, they're going to create an account. So when they see this, they need to go down to the bottom and click sign up here. And so again, here's information in English and Spanish about registration eligibility. So I'm just going to make sure you know, Colorado state financial aid applicants should only complete one financial aid application, FAFSA or CASFA. So students do not complete both, they only complete one. To receive financial aid by filing a FAFSA, you must be either a U.S. Citizen or eligible non-citizen. And this is the definition here. All of these qualify as eligible non-citizens. are you a citizen or eligible non-citizen? So those who should be completing a CASFA, if they are not a citizen and they're not an eligible non-citizen, they will click no, and they will click continue. If the student clicks yes, it will say you are eligible to complete FAFSA, or you've already submitted FAFSA, not eligible for CASFA. So because CASFA is new-ish, opened in 2020, it can continue to be complicated or confusing. So please help students or refer them to our website to help them understand eligibility. So a student clicks no and then goes to continue. The first step is going to be an email verification where a student puts in their email and then confirms their email and makes a password. And so CASFA is going to start by confirming their email, and then the application continues from here. This is the application for the current aid year 2023-2024. The current aid year, students can still complete it because they could use financial aid potentially for this fall or for next spring. Another good thing is the new aid year CASFA that's launching in December will look different. I wouldn't say remarkably different. Oh, of course, I hope a lot better. However, it will look different. So I look forward to sharing screenshots and presentations of all of that information once I have it. I don't have it yet, and I hope to have it soon. I think that's kind of the story of this presentation, this conversation with you all is FAFSA is launching and CASFA is launching in December 2023. We don't know when yet, and we look forward to continuing to talk about it. So that is most of what I wanted to share. And I am, of course, open to questions anytime. So you all are welcome to contact me. I'll put my email in the chat, and thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you, Sophie. Let's go ahead. We are going to go ahead and go over to Martha Herrera. She is our new FAFSA coordinator here at the department, and she's been on board for a week now. So we're so happy to have her, and I will pass it over to you, Martha.
Thanks, Twilight. Hi, everyone. Like Twilight said, my name is Martha Herrera. I am the new FAFSA coordinator, and I am super thrilled with this opportunity. And I'm also looking forward to working with you all and guiding you with all the new changes that are coming up with FAFSA. I will put my information in the chat, so you can contact me at any time if you have any questions about the FAFSA. Like Sophie emphasized, it's not opening until December. It could be December 1st, December 31st. We don't know yet, but we will keep you all informed of when that is going to happen. But for right now, I'm just going to share some updates that we have. So the FAFSA Simplification Act was ratified in August of 2022 with the intent to streamline the application. It should have less questions and hopefully make it a less daunting process to fill out. The main goals for this new legislation is to make it more user-friendly, expand eligibility for federal aid, and reduce barriers for certain student populations. But for now, I am going to share my screen with you all and share a sheet that will explain the changes that are happening. It'll show the old one versus the new changes. So give me a second. There we go. So there is going to be some terminology changing. The SAI, the Student Aid Index, is going to replace the EFC, the Expected Family Contribution. So the makeover is meant to correct the assumption that the calculation equals the amount the family can contribute. So for the EFC, the total was 0, and now with the new student index is going to be negative 1,500. Another change is the household size. Now it's going to be called family size. parents are now going to be called contributors. So whoever will provide information in the form will be called a contributor. So the way that is going to work is that the student will fill out their portion and then invite whoever is responsible to provide that information for the parents to be able to fill out their portion as well. The student aid report is changing to FAFSA submission summary. Dependency status is now going to be student personal circumstance. So I know students have special circumstances. So that's going to be an option for them to opt as well. The IRS data retrieval tool is going to be now a direct data exchange. So the process is changing a little bit as well. So like we talked about, contributor will not be able to access the FAFSA without an FSA ID. So right now we are encouraging students and families to create an FSA ID and until the form opens up and sometime in December. So for right now, if students can start working on it, that would be awesome. So that way, once the application opens, they can hit the ball running. One of the things is having students create a personal email, because once they graduate, the school one will discontinue. So having them create that now so they can create their FSA ID will be awesome. Also, parents without a social security will now be able to create an FSA ID as well. So the way that is going to work is that in order to be able to get verified, a parent, the FSA ID is going to have them be verified with something called TransUnion. It's going to ask parents a multiple of questions that only they know the answer to be able to get verified. If parents are not able to get verified that way, they can upload their documents manually as well. Also, another thing is that parent information was determined by whom the student lived with the most out of the year. With this new change, parents will provide information for who spends the greater portion of the time and supports the student financially. And then also students will be able to add up to 20 colleges, and before they could only add up to 10 colleges. Family size is going to be based on the number of people claimed as exemptions on tax forms, and before it was based on the household size reported by the student. Another thing is that now small businesses and farms of any size are going to be counted as an asset as well. Before, businesses and farms with fewer than 100 employees were not counted as assets, but now they will be. Let me see. I talked about the EFC and the SAI. So those are just some of the terminologies that are going to be changing with the new form. But like I said, we're encouraging parents and students to create their FSA ID. Right now in the chat, I will provide a document that will show you the steps on how to create an FSA ID. Do you mind posting it on the chat, Sophie?
Yeah, I'll do it right away.
Thank you. So, and like I said, I will put my contact information as well. I used to work closely with families and students filling out this form. So I know that sometimes special circumstances come up and if you're not aware of how to help the students navigate those special circumstances, please reach out to me. I am here to help with anything I can, and with all the new changes coming up. Do y'all have any questions for me? Guess I'll stop sharing. Alrighty, it doesn't seem like it. So we are going to open forum for any of you to ask any questions, either for me, Twyla, or Sophie. So please put them on the chat if you have any questions. Okay, so Mara, is there a resource that we can give to parents who do not have a social security number on how to create an FSA ID? In the chat, we will post on how to create an FSA ID, and it should be similar it should be the same way as everyone creates an FSA ID, but we don't have one in Spanish currently, but we can work on those.
Martha, just to jump in quickly, I also think that once we have seen the TransUnion process for creating an FSA ID and verifying your identity, or basically through your credit, once we've seen that process and seen the manual upload process, we'll have a lot more information that we can share. So I don't think we have a resource yet, but we can certainly create a resource.
Okay. Alrighty, do we want to jump into the questions that the registrants asked? Okay. Do you have those, Sophie? Do you want to?
Sure, I'm going to start. One of our first questions that we chose to respond to was one of the registrants for this webinar mentioned they're interested in the shift away from expected family contribution. So I interpret that to mean, like, what is the rationale behind that? And then I'm just going to go ahead with the answer for this one. And then and I'm putting the question and the answer in the chat as well. So a notable terminology update with the new Better FAFSA is the replacement of the term expected family contribution, EFC, with student aid index, SAI. The new term more accurately describes the number used to determine aid eligibility. And unlike EFC, just like Martha was saying, the SAI may be a negative number down to negative 1,500.
Okay, and then our second question would be blended family situations, McKinney-Vento. So when parents are divorced, separated, or never married and do not live together, only one parent must complete the FAFSA. This will be the parent who provides more financial support to the student, so no longer based on where the student lived the most. If their parent has remarried as of the date the FAFSA is filed, the step-parent's income, assets, and dependents must be reported on the FAFSA. If a contributor's information is required on the FAFSA, they must have created an FSA ID. And then regarding the McKinney-Vento, Homeless Assistance Act is the primary piece of legislation related to the education of children and youth experiencing homelessness, starting with the 2024-2025 award year. So both first-time and renewal applicants who indicate on their FAFSA form that they have an unusual circumstance, including uncompanioned homeless youth or uncompanioned at risk or homelessness and self-supporting, will be granted provisional independent status. And I will put this question in the chat as well.
Sorry, Martha, I just did.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Trying to be helpful. Do you want to do the next one?
Sure. So the next question is, what happens if a parent who doesn't have a social security is unable to verify their identity to create an FSA ID? So if parents are not able to verify their identity through the TransUnion process, FSA says that there will be a manual process for them to upload their documents. And then the next question is, which financial documents will students and families need for better FAFSA 2024-2025? Parents will need their 2022 tax return to complete the form. And then our last question is advice for how to best support students with undocumented parents. So one of our suggestions is to create a feeling of welcome to allow trust building. Let parents know that you understand their concerns, but let them know that they will not be flagged because that is one of their biggest fears. And I think that concludes all of our questions.
The only other question we had was, are there marketing materials available to share for schools to share with families? And the answer is yes, and it's the same website that Twyla showed in the beginning, and I'll put that in the chat. And of course, since everything will continue to change as Better FAFSA starts at whatever day it starts in December and that sort of stuff, our marketing materials will continue to improve. And so please consider returning to our site in next month and the following month, because there will be new resources. Additionally, we are planning on downloading the chat from this meeting and making sure we respond to any questions that we don't get a chance to answer. So I know we've been able to answer some questions in the chat now, and maybe we have a few more minutes. However, if it turns out that there are any questions that don't get answered, we will be following up, and we'll be posting answers to questions, etc.
Hey, if nobody has any more questions, I can move on to the next piece, which is upcoming community events that we will be at, either presenting or providing resources to parents, students, families. I am going to let me just show my screen really quick here. So on our website, we do have an events section under post secondary education programs and services. And we try to post up all of the events and conferences that we will be at, presenting, providing information. Of course, we are also going to be having one of these Better FAFSA and CASFA Lunch and Learns at the end of, or at next month around the same time, and that will be what's the actual date?
November 29th.
November 29th, thank you. And then also we have another one scheduled for December 13th. And then we have an educator financial aid training that is upcoming in Trinidad on January 17th. And we have information again on our website, and educators will be eligible for a $500 stipend. So please check that out. You can register online. And again, that will be at Trinidad State on January 17th. And then we have in the works some block parties. We're hoping to do one in Denver in February, and then doing another Better FAFSA CASFA block party in March in Pueblo. So we're working on those. So does anybody have any questions about upcoming events? All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, we will post all of the resources, materials, questions on our website, as well as this recording. And we hope that you are able to join us next month for this Better FAFSA and CASFA Lunch and Learn. And hopefully we will have additional content to talk about. Hopefully we will have an actual Better FAFSA application launch date, as well as many other items to talk about. So thank you so much for joining us today, and hope you all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.